Okay, we've got the PC out here now. Some of the tools you're going to need is usually a Phillips screwdriver. That's the one with the little cross on the end. A can of compressed air. Now, a lot of people try to use air compressors, and the problem with that is they build up moisture, and you can blow all kinds of moisture in an electronic device, which obviously doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do. Not just possibly frying by arcing electronics, but also causing corrosion and rust in the machine. So you don't want to use an air compressor. These dust cleaners come with what they call dielectric chemical, so that it dries really fast and it doesn't produce or create an electrical charge or transfer an electrical charge, more importantly. So you want to just go buy a can of air. That's really going to be the best. It comes with a nice little nozzle so you can get down in the hard parts. You also want to get yourself just a rag. In this particular case, this E-machine's got a bunch of dust on top. And as far as outside is concerned, you just want to kind of briefly knock down the big chunks of dust depending upon where the machine's been at. Will determine how much you need to really wipe this down. This has been under my desk, so there's a good amount, a little bit of dust here. You want to do this outside so you're not creating a massive mess inside. Once you've got the dust on the outside wiped down, in the back here, you'll see some machines will have just a set of screws, and then you can pull this case loose. Some of them you have to take the top off in order to get the side off. Some of them are just slipped in with a little locking mechanism. So you just kind of have to look over what your case has, but 2 screws is pretty typical. A lot of times people will take those screws and they're like, I can't get it off, it's all hard. Well, they forget to look at this warranty stickers a lot of times, that if you don't peel that off, your case isn't going to slide off very easily. More than likely, well, it's going to void your warranty, so it's up to you on whether you're under warranty and want to do this or not. To me, I've never damaged any computers just cleaning the dust out. So in this case, we're going to remove these 2 screws here so that we can get at this case. This particular one is similar to a lot of other units that you unscrew it, it doesn't come out all the way. It just releases from the case. See, it's still in there, the way that it's threaded. And then it has like a little handle here. I don't know if you can see this little handle here. You just pull it. A lot of times it's easier to set the computer case on its side so that you're not juggling with it and smacking it around and stuff. But you'll look at this particular case, they have these little grooves in them here, slots, that these little tabs slide into. So we're going to pay attention to that, so when we put it back on, that we get them all in the right slots, connected tightly to the tabs, or else it could come loose. This one has a bracket on the back that locks these cards in place. Just kind of is pressurized. It sits on there like this. Let's see here. There we go. It just kind of locks into place like that, and the case holds it, so that came loose, which is fine. Now, I've got kind of a rule of thumb for me. I like to blow all the dust in first, so that when I'm blowing them out and I'm done, I don't have any more dust inside. If I was to do the opposite, if I was to blow the inside out first and then blow the outside, then I'd be pushing the dust right back in the machine, and that's not what we're looking to do. The thing with dust, I'll show you on this one. This power supply, this fan, quite often gets loaded up with dust and dirt because it's one of the fans that's constantly running when your machine's on. What will happen is the dust and dirt will build up on those fans, and it'll wear the motor out in them, or it'll get in where the bearings are and burn out the bearings. A lot of times they'll get unbalanced too, and they'll start making more and more louder noises. If this slows down, isn't transferring air, the bearings are bad or anything like that, it's going to cause your power supply to fail or burn up, which could cause a fire or could just cause electronic damage. Either way, it can be a costly repair. So keeping that clean keeps you from having to replace it or possible other parts. What we'll do here is we'll blow in the air. You got to take this little tab off. You're going to blow in the air like this, get the general gist of all the little connections. See? And then a lot of times I'll slip past I'll slip my nozzle past the inside of that fan and get it like that, because then it's not spinning around. And I'm able to go back in this way and pause it. Okay, after we're done blowing out the inside or the outside of this power supply and these other vents and connections, we're going to move to the front here, and you'll see what's called your front bezel or your face plate. A lot of times when you're talking about just the drives, they'll say face plate, but in this particular case, this is your case front. And a lot of these sometimes will have screws that hold it in place. A lot of them only have tabs. You just push the little tab back so it unclips on each of these. You know, I apply a little pressure to the front up here while I undo these tabs. You want to be super careful because this plastic dry rots and can break, and if you break them, then your front of your case isn't going to stay on. But you see that comes right off. You can take a rag and just get the loose cobwebs off of it to start with, and then take your air duster and make sure you blow it out real good. A lot of these little dust bunnies will get in your optical drives, and it'll make it so that your drive doesn't read your disc anymore. So you want to keep that clean, and the rest of the front of the face. Okay, now we got that blown out. I'm going to show you right inside here, right underneath this big fan, is what's called your CPU, your central processing unit. It's basically the brain of your computer. So you want the brain of your computer doing all its mathematical processes. It gets really hot. You want to try to keep it as cool as possible. So they create this heat sink in the back. What that heat sink does is it's these little metal fins, and the heat rises off of it and helps dissipate that heat to try to keep it cool. And the fan helps pull that heat off there also. But if you get dust inside those vents or between those fins, it almost works like insulation and can cause it to overheat. So you want to make sure that it's nice and clear of all that by cleaning it out. And of course your fan, like I said about your power supply fan, this fan can get clogged up, get thrown off balance and start making loud noises. Can, you know, fry your bearings when it gets too hot because it's running too slow, and then it eventually will stop completely, possibly fry the motherboard, definitely fry your processor, and all that stuff gets expensive. What we're talking about, this maintenance that we're doing today, is a total investment of about 12 bucks for canned air and a little bit of your time. So what I like to do is I'll hold the fan from spinning with one finger, and I'll take this and I'll just blow it all out the fan, and then I'll get to the side and make sure I'm blowing through those. You know, I get past that fan like that, and I blow out the heat sink and the fan casing. In this particular case, somebody has this wire hanging in front of the fan. I don't like that. It can hit the fan and cause damage. So if you see anything that's in the way, just kind of tuck it out of the way like that. You know, because it's avoidance. You know, we're red flagging any possible problems and trying to hit them before they become issues. Another fan that's in your machine, a lot of times right here, this one just has a heat sink, but your video card will have a fan, and even a chipset like this heat sink here, sometimes there's a fan on there. A lot of times those are fail. So you want to just make sure that you blow all those out in between your RAM, your video card. Just get all that dust and dirt out of there. You'll start losing pressure on these when they get cold. So, you know, you might want to blow some of the dust out for a while and then set it aside, let it warm back up, and you'll get stronger pressure again. But we just need to do this power supply. We're blowing it out now from the inside, and then the drive. So the trick basically is at first getting all the dust on the outside off and some in, but then lastly all of it out. So it's nice and clean and will run nice and cool and extend the life of your machine. We'll go ahead and put this bezel back on, or front faceplate, or case front, whatever you want to call it. See on this one we've got the little tabs. We'll slide right into these grooves. Just kind of rolls, and then over here, when it comes over, it'll clip into place. You see that? See, it's all locked down. A lot of times people have problems putting that on. These drives might pop your front face plates of your drives off. Usually they just pop right back in. So don't force anything of this plastic. Like I said, it dry rots and you could break it and then you're looking at replacing it. Glue isn't really going to fix the situation. Okay, put this case back together. Bring it over here. This one has that pressure clip for all the cards that are in place. But once it's lined up correctly, it should, there we go, slide right on and then lock there. And I found it's a lot easier if you can turn this on its side when you go to try to line up these grooves, because they'll all sit flat and slide right in. Where on your side, you might be leaning a little here, or it's not catching right there, and then you go to put it on and you got a big gap up here, or the case is curved. You don't want to force anything. A lot of times these little tabs will get bent too, so you might have to go in there and take a little screwdriver and just bring them back open so that they'll slide in. But these are all good. So in this case, we're just going to set it right here so they're in all the holes. Nice and level, you can feel it, and easily. So I just slide it with just a little bit of pressure and it's all locked down nice and flat. That's one of the mistakes that a lot of people make. I'll get computers in the shop that are all mangled up because somebody put it in there crooked. So we'll tighten that screws back down on this one, and the case is back together. One of the points I wanted to make is a lot of people don't understand what they call the technology heat load venting. It's basically how this machine cools itself. It is designed to bring in air from one side and bring it out from another. It may be coming in from this side and vent here, but blowing out the back. So it's all designed to travel through the machine a certain way. That includes traveling across your video card, traveling past your heatsink and fan, and then out the unit. The reason why I mention this is a lot of people won't put their cases back on thinking that they're keeping the machine cooler. But what they've done is now they've lost the direction of flow, of airflow, and they could actually be causing it not to stay as cool as it normally would. So please put the computer back the way it was designed and manufactured, because they've scientifically designed how it's going to cool itself. So it's not going to be necessarily any cooler by keeping the side off. If you're having trouble with heat, look at whether or not you're inside an enclosed cabinet on some of those computer desks. They tend to be closed up. You might want to knock some holes in the back or pull the back off that cabinet so it gets airflow. A lot of times it's best if you can pull it out and put it on top of the desk so that it has plenty of area to travel its airflow. You can get other fans, you know, if you want to use higher end fans that push more air. This one doesn't have a fan in the back right here. I could easily put one there, maybe in the side. But always keep in mind the direction of the airflow that needs to be in place.